Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla stock and let's go over the market. I am obviously re-recording this video. Thankfully, a friend let me know. I didn't even realize, but the video had no audio. Well, that's probably because Windows had an update yesterday and it, as usual, ruins some setting somewhere. So it is what it is, but let's re-record this and yeah, let's just jump into it. If you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. And of course, my membership section on YouTube is live. That link is down below. For just $2.99, you can access all my intraday thoughts, post updates, technical analysis, options, flows, etc. on Tesla, sometimes other general market stuff as well. For just $2.99 a month, or for $4.99 a month, you can upgrade to get all of that, plus also NVIDIA daily updates as well there. On top of it. So anyway, jumping into it, Tesla closing the day with a beautiful almost 4% rally on the day, closing at about $214 per share, which is a nice, respectable outperformance by Tesla compared to the market, which is good to see. So there's a few things to talk about, right? Yesterday we talked about how there was a bearish MACD crossover on the daily chart, and that is a concerning sign, right? That is something that is worth mentioning, right? It wasn't looking too hot. I mean, we mentioned how as long as we're above 203, there is still definitely bullish potential, but there are definitely some signs, or were signs, I should say, that were questionable to say the least, right? They were definitely giving some bearish momentum. Seeping in there, if that makes sense, right? So it was a little concerning, but today, pretty good day, right? A lot of things changed in my opinion. So we'll go over all that. So first and foremost, let's talk about the daily chart here, right? We had a pretty nice looking candle, right? Unfortunately, we're still getting barely rejected by that 214, 215-ish range. That's still very important to clear, but we are above the 21 EMO, which is this yellow line, right? Yesterday, we were getting rejected by it, and the day before, right? But today we closed back above it. Not the most convincing close in the entire world, but nonetheless above it, which is good. The MACD has actually crossed back to being bullish, so that's a pretty nice sign as well. So this could have been a false bear trap, which if that's the case, expect a slingshot in the opposite way. We'll see if that happens, of course. I mean, back when we were trading sideways for like a month and a half, we were kind of going back and forth, slight crossover, slight not crossover. So, back when we were still trading, what was it, like all the way down here, this little range right here. So, we'll see, but nonetheless, it's crossed back to bullish, which is a good which is a good sign. The stochastic finally starting to curl a little bit here, right? So that's always a good sign. Starting to get that little bit of a curl, so it's not pointing straight down anymore like it was yesterday, which is a good sign. So there are signs starting to point in, the more potential bullish direction. I wouldn't say it's completely and utterly bullish yet, but man, it's looking much better today than it did yesterday, naturally. And there's a few other reasons I'll talk about as well. For instance, BX Trender, fresh higher low, which is a nice sign to see as well. So I like to see all these kind of situations, right? Especially compared to yesterday, where it definitely didn't look anywhere near as good. So that's a promising sign. On top of that, we have the 1 hour chart, which, you can kind of see it on the daily, but definitely see it easier on the 1 hour chart over here. We have a breakout, right? We have a breakout of this downward channel, right? This downward channel that we were in, or arguably a bull flag, really, if you want to really talk about it, right? Remember the bull flag, if you bring it from all the way down here to all the way up here, roughly, right? We're pretty much bouncing off, right, on that 0.5 Fibonacci retracement level, which is a pretty good area to bounce, and that's pretty good. The fact that we only went that low is actually pretty nice, right? Which again is around 203. The 618 level, which was that next level I talked about, is pretty much at $200 per share, which is why I always said, ideally I don't want to lose 203, but I really don't want to lose 200, and we didn't. That's a good sign. And on top of that, not only do we not lose those levels, but we actually broke out of this downward channel / bull flag, right? The reason I brought up the Fibonacci is to signal the fact that this is still technically a valid bull flag relative to this low down all the way over here. So that's a good sign, right? The fact that we had this massive breakout, which is good. And we even had a little bit of follow through already towards the end of the day on Friday. Also a good sign. So, Tesla is looking a lot better today than it is yesterday, mainly because of this breakout. Now, and the 21 EMA closure above. I do want to make it clear, breaking above these downward channels, bull flags, whatever, it doesn't mean, it can, but it doesn't have to mean the fact that we're just going to skyrocket right up. It could, absolutely it could, but it doesn't have to mean that, right? Usually what this means is the fact that, simply, we're just not channeling downwards anymore. We're not trending to the downside, which is good, right? So, we can still come back down and retest. We can still maybe just go sideways. Maybe we do go up, but maybe we ultimately go sideways in this general area. Like, it doesn't really mean that much in that sense. But again, what this does really tell me is the fact that downward pressure has, in theory, subsided, unless it's a false breakout, of course, which I don't think it will be, but you never know. But it also really, really reduces the chances of us actually breaking this 203 range, at least anytime soon, right? Maybe a few months or maybe a few weeks away from now is possible, especially with September being a pretty bearish month, which we'll talk about soon. But at least for the short term, this really diminishes the chances of us breaking below 203 because we broke out of this downward channel. So this means that we're not really trending downwards anymore. So that's a good sign, right? So that's kind of the main ways I'm looking at Tesla moving forward. Now, like I said, September is obviously a very bearish month for Tesla and the really market as a whole. But actually, this guy I follow, Mo, he's a very good follow on Twitter X. Very highly recommend following him. He posts very good content. Definitely recommend. He also posts Tesla every now and then as well. But he talks about, spike EQ, etc. Right? So he expects a rally, continued rally, a little bit of maybe a kind of tiny sell-off, but then just pretty aggressive rally moving forward after that. But nonetheless, he posts a nice little seasonality chart over here showcasing just overall September seasonality. The main thing I want to move your attention to is the top right little, it's not really a graph, I guess, but the seasonality chart. You can see, right? This is for S&P 500, right? Which naturally Tesla roughly follows, right? You can see pretty much the first half-ish, maybe just slightly more than half, pretty good. Actually, arguably, pretty bullish. The second half to like the last third quarter-ish of the month of September, that's when things get really bearish, really quick. So if we just follow seasonality, the first half-ish of September, yeah, it's not bad. It's actually not bad. But man, watch out for the second half. We'll see. Of course, seasonality, it's never perfect, right? I'm pretty sure, what was it, July or something like that, or August? No, I think it was July. We didn't really follow seasonality super well, or maybe it was August. I can't remember, right? So we never really know for sure, but just keep that in mind, right? So that could be enough to play out this little breakout that we have for the first half-ish of September before maybe after that breakout. So as an example, let's say we do break this out, and let's say we do play this breakout pretty damn well, and it's a bullish breakout, and it continues, and everything is great. The first half of September can be something like this, back up, move up like this, whatever, right? And, make our way back up to 225, 230, 235, maybe even best case scenario in the 240s, right? That's just as an example. You know what? Let's look at the best. Let's look at a pretty good case scenario just to illustrate a point, I guess. Let's say we do break out. Let's say we massive rally, something around here, come back down, retest, and then we move up even higher. And let's say this is where we go up to, as an example. And let's say this happens sometime, September 15th or whatever, right? And then we have the second half of September and potentially even leading into August bearish. Well, that could be this little correction, right? The bearishness can start pretty much right here. And that's where that bearishness can start going downwards. And that's where we can start getting that mini correction from this potential rally we have setting up here. And that could be that September weakness right there. Just as an example, just food for thought, right? We'll see how it plays out, of course, day by day, week by week, but just something to consider. But nonetheless, I very much like the way we're breaking out of this. Now, don't forget, if I go back to the daily chart, we're still in overall a large bullish pattern. And the fact that we actually held this kind of 203 level is great, but the fact that we did bounce off of this 182-ish range back when the market quote unquote crashed is a good sign for a couple of reasons. Number one, we could be still setting up an overall potential inverted head and shoulders. We have the head here, the left shoulder here, and we're pretty much setting up the right shoulder right here, right now, with the neckline being at $265-ish per share. But that's still a bit of a ways away. So we obviously want to break that eventually. And if we do, well, that's very bullish. The next thing to watch out for and to pay attention to is the fact that, well, we're also setting up, that I've talked about for quite some time, that cup and handle pattern, which we broke out of, right? Came back, had a nice little breakout. And then we had obviously a little bit of a correction, which we're currently in. We technically have just broken out of this little downward channel correction, and we can potentially continue moving back up. So the move overall could be something like this, like some Elliott wave, people, like this, as an example, right? It could look something like that. You have like a 1, 2, 3 is usually the big move, and then you have a 4 retrace into a 5, or it could just be an ABC move up like this. Who knows? I don't do Elliott wave personally, but as an example. Actually, he did one for Tesla. We can take a quick look at it together if you guys want. This one right here is what he expected, right? A little bullish channel, massive move up for the 3. So he's expecting a 3, 4, 5 intra in the first overall into a second correction, which probably, so this is like what I could see happening, where we have this third wave up just now, fourth and then fifth, and this pretty much leads into middle-ish of September. Then we have September seasonality kick in, very bearish. We move back all the way down, all the way over here, get that massive correction going, and then we rally sometime in maybe late October, post-election, whatever, something like that. as an example, just as an example. But that's just kind of the way I'm looking at it. So keep in mind, this another way to look at it is, when we had this massive rally, right? Remember this downward channel we had, and then we broke out of it. And after we broke out of this downward channel on the daily chart, this is the very large one I'm talking about. We had, a few day rally, right? We broke out right here, and then we continued rallying for like 3-4 days. Great. Kind of expecting something potentially as similar as this. But then what happened after that rally finish? Well, we had another little bit of a correction that we just arguably finished. So expect something like that. And this could be pretty much what happens that second-ish half of September. Just food for thought. Let's finish this off with a quick look at the weekly chart. The weekly chart not looking too bad, right? Decent looking hammer candle. It's red, unfortunately, so nothing to really write home about, but pretty okay. I really want to look at the monthly chart though, because the monthly candle has officially closed October. August is done. We're moving into September. Also a nice little hammer candle. Unfortunately, it's red, so it's not as good as a white or green hammer candle, but still pretty good, right? Showing nice buying pressure, though it's obviously on a little bit of a lower volume, but it's fine. Not a huge deal in my opinion. But the good news is the fact that the green band has continued expanding on the BX trender, making a fresh higher low as well, showing some bullish accumulation, which is a nice sign to see. I like that a lot. And of course, we have the MACD also making higher lows and also looking to potentially get closer and closer to crossing for that bullish crossover, which will be a very bullish thing to happen on the monthly chart of all things. But though, again, don't hold your breath. This will still take some time, and unless we just skyrocket the next month or two, which I guess is possible, but I wouldn't hold my breath for it. But yeah, that's just the way I'm looking at it right now for Tesla stock, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think down below. Option slow, pretty slow day today, but some bulls coming in towards the end of the day, which is a nice sign to see as well. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.